Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Sports Memories podcast. My name is Tim Hannon, and with me, as always, is
Steve Wirt.
the very affable Steve Wirt.
Affable. Nice. I've never been called, I don't know if I've ever called affable. I don't know.
You've been called lots of other things,
Well, yeah. I mean, lots of a-hole and
lots of
hey,
other words that
hey,
start with A.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you stop going through my garbage, quit cutting me off in traffic, lots of stuff. I've been called number one a lot. A lot of people like to call me number one, Tim. I know. But they always use the finger in the center of their, you
Yeah,
know, hand. I just figured I take it as a compliment.
yeah. I think that's probably how it's meant.
Yeah.
All right. Well, in this episode, we're going to do Untold Stories. So we've done a couple other episodes like this before. Um, we're going to call this one Volume 3 because it's the third time we've done it. I don't think we've called the other episodes Volume 1 or Volume 2. It's kind of like World War II, Steve, where, we they didn't call World War One because they didn't know there was going to be other ones.
Well, they called it the war to end all wars, and then like 20 years later, it's like, hey, let's do it again. Sweet.
Yeah. So, in the same vein, let's do some more so the theme here is just stories that you know, either you never heard before or maybe you just forgot about. And some really interesting, fascinating Pittsburgh sports history here. So let's start with a 1976 playoff game between the Steelers and the Baltimore Colts. This is before there was a Baltimore Ravens and before the Colts had moved to Indianapolis. So they're playing this game at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. There's not much to say about the actual game. The Steelers dominate from start to finish. It's a 40-14 victory. They even let center Ray Mansfield kick an extra point near the end of the game for some reason.
Nice. Chuck Noll, like, take that. Didn't Indianapolis have that quarterback Burt Bell or whatever it was?
Burt Jones, yeah.
Burt Jones.
Who was really good. He was the
Yeah.
league MVP
Yeah.
at one point, maybe even this year.
Burt Bell, of course, was the commissioner of the league, the first commissioner.
Yeah, that's true. But the Steelers defense is all over Burt Jones. So yeah, nothing real memorable here except when this happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tom Davis back at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore, and a plane has just crashed into the upper deck. It's a private plane. It's a single-engine plane. Chuck Thompson has the binoculars on it. The plane has crashed into the upper deck around Section 1 or 41 behind home plate. The plane came inside the horseshoe of the stadium while we were out on the commercial, and the plane went into the upper deck as it tried to rise.
So, oh my God, a plane crashes into the stadium. Is this not a massive tragedy? How does no one remember this?
Because nothing happened.
Yeah. So
it was after the game.
Right. So yeah. So number one, the game ended, but I mean, it had like just ended, Steve, because that's why they were still broadcasting.
I think they were doing the post game, weren't they?
They were going into the post game, but I mean, it was like 5 minutes before the game had ended. But I think number two, and most importantly,
blowout. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no one was killed, right? Even the pilot survives this. And to your point, it's really a testament to the Steelers being so dominant that day because
they saved lives by
no kidding.
Winning big. Yeah,
that's actually they had a 26-point lead, so a lot of fans had left already, and also the game ends early because when it's that much of a blowout, you're not using your timeouts, you're not trying to stop the clock, right? The game ends pretty quickly when it's 40-14, and had this game been close, it likely still would have been going on when that plane hit the stadium, and then this would have been a horrible catastrophe. Unfortunately, it's kind of just a footnote.
That would, I mean, was there ever any explanation why this guy decided? Like, was he just flying? Like, who flies that low? And like, that's like in Baltimore. Like, it's not like in the middle of a field somewhere in Maryland. It's in Baltimore, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty small plane. Maybe he just lost control or ran out of fuel, or
I don't know if the NTSB or was around back then, or the FAA. Somebody had to investigate this, right? Or it was the 70s. It was like, whatever. It happens.
That's a good teaser because we're actually gonna end this episode with like a peak 70s story that's very similar. So hang on to that thought. Next on this list is the time that Sidney Crosby was booed when he was introduced to the home fans at the Civic Arena. What? We booed Sidney Crosby.
He
Why?
deserved it.
Why would we do that? Well, in this case, he kind of did because this happens before a game between the Penguins and the Sabres on March 2nd, 2010. And not only is Crosby booed when he's introduced, but Buffalo goaltender Ryan Miller is giving a huge standing ovation. So what's going on here? Well, 2 nights earlier, this had happened.
Crosby up with it there. Punched along to Jerome McGinley. Crosby scores! It's over! The gold medal to Canada!
Yeah, so the gold medal game of the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver is between Canada and the United States. And the US that year probably has their best chance to win a gold medal since 1980. And that's primarily because of their goaltender, the aforementioned Ryan Miller, who just stands on his head for that entire tournament.
We had pretty good forwards too. Like, didn't they have Parisi and
Yeah.
yeah.
Zach Parise was really good in that tournament too.
Yeah.
And that gold medal game was a thriller. It goes into overtime.
I think the U.S. had scored late too to send it to overtime. If I do,
Yeah, I think that was Parisi that actually sent the game into overtime with like they might have even had Miller pulled or something.
Yeah.
It was very dramatic. But as you heard in the audio, Crosby beats Miller with the golden goal to win the tournament for Canada, and that really sucked. I remember a bunch of us had a big party to watch that game, and it was just like, oh, so this is what it feels like to be on the other end of Crosby magic.
Yeah.
That's no fun. So when the Pens and Sabres play 2 days later, people in the United States are still a little salty about that, so we booed. Ryan Miller, on the other hand.
From the Buffalo Sabres, tournament MVP, Ryan Miller!
Wow, an away crowd standing ovation.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I remember that happening. That was pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And too bad we couldn't cheer him for winning the gold medal, but it is what it is. So, yeah, I never want to be on the other side of Crosby beating us again. All right, our next story is about a Pirates pitcher named A.J. Burnett. Steve, do you remember A.J. Burnett? And if so, how would you kind of like describe his personality?
Cantankerous. I wonder which clip. I don't know which clip you're going to show. They used to call himself Batman. There's so many great AJ Burnett clips. You got a lot of choice. Is this with the Pirates?
This is with the Pirates.
Okay, so it's not the one in the Marlins where he throws a wild pitch and breaks the window in the car.
No.
Have you ever seen that one?
No.
I think it was with the Marlins, or he was playing in Florida, and he threw he was warming up, and he threw. He might have done it on purpose, but it was hilarious. He breaks the window on a car.
Yeah, it's also not the incident where he tells Hanley Ramirez to sit the F down. That was with the Pirates.
Was
Remember
that after
one?
he struck him out? He was walking back to the dugout. There's one where doesn't he get kicked out? Is this the one where he gets kicked out like 2 pitches into the game or something like that?
No, none of those things. So yeah. So needless to say, as Steve said, AJ Burnett, what did you say? Cantankerous, abrasive.
Cantankerous, yeah.
Doesn't really care what people think. But none of those are the untold stories. Instead, it's the stories. So Burnett, he has a problem, which is that he keeps having trouble finding a place to park his car on game days at BNC Park.
Oh no!
And apparently, all the people working there, the players, the front office people, the hot dog vendors, they all share the same parking lot. And Burnett notices that this one spot, even though it says reserved, is like always open. So one night he's just like, whatever, I'm going to park there. Well, it turns out that spot is reserved for the owner, Mr. Bob Nutting Jr.
Oh, this is going to be interesting.
So a Pirates employee comes in and tells Burnett, hey, you got to move your car. That's the owner's spot. And Burnett just says, look, I'm getting ready for the game. If he shows up, here's my keys. You can move it. Well, Bob Nutting doesn't show up. So Burnett's like, well, this guy's never here. I'm just going to park there again.
Yeah. It's just like a standing order. Like if he shows up, move my car.
Well, and the next time he shows up, this time they actually have the parking spot roped off with yellow tape. So Burnett cuts the tape, parks his car in that spot, and then ties the tape back together,
like around his car, like it's
yes,
like a crime scene or something.
Well, this time Bob Nutting does show up, and he apparently tries to confront Burnett in the dugout.
What? Why?
And Burnett is like getting ready to go out and pitch, and he has never met Bob Nutting before, doesn't even know what he looks like, which says everything you need to know about what kind of owner Bob Nutting is. And Burnett just like blows past him. He's like, I don't know, who's this guy? I'm pitching, get out of my way. And later his teammates are all like, dude, you big league the owner. And he was like, I didn't mean to. I didn't even know who that was. Burnett does say that they do eventually talk and that Nutting was very nice. So there's that at least.
But did he get his own parking spot finally? They could just put a Batman symbol over it.
Yeah. I just love that. He's like, whatever. Like, I love how the Pirates employees are like, well, we'll put up tape so that he knows not to park there. And he's just like takes the tape down and then ties it back up. All right. Next, we have a story about the legendary Myron Cope. Man, we could probably do a whole episode of stories about Myron.
Yeah, probably.
This one comes courtesy of our buddy Dan Joseph. Dan was a guest on our show a while ago. We had him and Myron's daughter, Elizabeth Cope. We had them on the show to talk about a book they co-wrote about Myron. So check out that episode and check out that book if you haven't already. But Dan Joseph, he also started a YouTube channel with all this great lost footage that he got from Elizabeth Cope. And this channel, it's just an absolute treasure trove of Pittsburgh sports history. Like, seriously, if you haven't checked this thing out yet, you really need to. We'll put a link in the show description. And one of the things he has in there is a confrontation between Myron and Bengals head coach Sam Weish. And we've talked about Sam Weish before. He was kind of like AJ Burnett's team. Would you say?
I don't think he was that cantankerous. He was a little weird.
He was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like unapologetic. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, this isn't Cleveland, that's for sure.
Exactly. So in 1989, the Steelers are playing the Bengals, and Pittsburgh quarterback Bubby Brister goes down with an injury. And Weish actually comes onto the field when that happens to check on Brister, which is not something that opposing coaches normally do, but coaches normally don't get on a live microphone in the middle of the game to scream at their fans, and Sam Weish did that too. So,
yeah. I mean, I guess that it could be like the Belichick when the Steelers. Remember, there was like a Patriots player got hurt one time, and Belichick was like, "Get away from my player!" Like he thought they were like spying to see how bad he was injured and go back.
Well,
like Bill Cowher, like, "Ooh, he's really injured. He's not coming back," even though that's against league rule. You have to disclose injuries, but
this one, that was Belichick. That was with his own player. This was Weish checking on Bubby. So
I don't know if Chuck Noll or whoever thought, well, maybe he's spying on us. I doubt. Chuck Noll doesn't seem like the paranoid type.
Yeah, Chuck Noll didn't care. You know who cares? Myron.
He thought they was spying, or that's the only thing I could think of. Like,
well, he really goes off on Sam Weish during the broadcast. I don't think he says it's spying. He just says it's Bush League.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to get a context for this. Yeah.
It seems like an odd thing to get really upset about. Well, a couple of nights later, Weish actually calls into Myron Cope's radio show to talk about the incident.
Wow.
And Myron tells Weish he thought it was Bush League, and Weish says, he says, I did that because they were going to cart Bubby off, and I knew I wouldn't get to see him after the game. And he says he even calls Bubby the next day to check on him, talks to his dad. And here's what Sam Weish thinks of Myron's criticism.
frankly, it's just a cheap shot that you're having to be taking because I suppose you don't like me for one reason or another, and it really doesn't make a dime's worth of difference what you think about it.
Yeah, so I get the feeling that this was genuine because that sounds like a person that's like, this is ridiculous. I wasn't like doing anything untoward or out of, Maybe he had a relationship with Bubby. There has to be some sort of context to this. Or was Bubby really hurt? Like, wasn't like Bubby really got knocked out or something? Because it sounds like he was genuinely concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to side with the Bengals on anything, but it's sort of like I'm not sure. I'm not sure I think Myron's a little out of line here. Well, that's also, Steve, not the end of the conversation, because Myron also brings up a quote where White said, quote, "I would love to coach Bubby Brister," which Myron says is a subtle shot at Chuck Noll.
What? Yeah, okay. Was Myron hurting for ratings or something?
I guess.
It sounds like a compliment to Bubby Brister. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would make it more of like, hey, who's his quarterback? Like, was it Boomer at that point? Like, he doesn't like Boomer Esiason. I could see like somebody playing that angle more than this.
The only thing I think the way Myron read that is, this Bubby's a really good quarterback. I'd love to coach him because then he would actually succeed instead of in Pittsburgh where he's failing. Okay. I think that's what Myron probably thought. Anyway, here's Sam White's response to that accusation.
You've got one of the most warped opinions of what people say. When people are in the business of twisting things, as apparently you seem to be in that business, then sometimes you never really get back to reality. There's nothing wrong with that. Good grief, grow up.
Well, I can't grow up, Coach. I'm only 5'5", and I've given up on the hope of doing that long ago.
That's a heck of a response.
It is. I think Myron was.
It made for good radio.
It did, and I don't. Sam White called in. It wasn't like they play. He had planned this and tried to come up with all. Like he had criticized all this before.
Maybe they both just like decided, hey, let's make a good radio show. Maybe it's like a wrestling shtick. I don't know. It's just odd.
It is very odd,
and they're very calm about it. They're not yelling and screaming. They're just kind of matter of fact about it. Yeah.
It's a good. So that. By the way, that's just a sampling. You really have to listen to the whole thing. It's like 5 or 6 minutes long. We'll put a link to that on our website. Again, you really need to check out Dan Joseph's YouTube channel if you haven't already. There's so much great lost Pittsburgh sports nostalgia on there. But yeah, I do. I can't help but kind of thinking Myron was out of line on all that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we're plugging YouTube channels, another really good YouTube channel is the JG9 channel. Steve and I have talked about this one before.
Even though he's a Jacksonville Jaguars fan,
he is a Gators fan.
Yeah, we'll cut him some slack. No, it is a really he does like NFL history better than we do. Quite frankly.
Yeah, it's really good, and he has like a new video like every single day.
Yeah.
So again, check out his channel. We'll link to that on our website. But he did a good story on this next item on our list, and it again involves the Steelers and the Bengals. So in 1993, the Steelers beat Cincinnati, which was pretty common in those days. But after the game, Steelers cornerback Rod Woodson is livid. He reportedly throws a punch at Bengals receiver Carl Pickens.
Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr., as Chris Berman would say.
Yeah.
And then he goes up to Cincinnati head coach David Shula and wags his finger right in his face and yells something at him. So what was Woodson so upset about? Well, it was because Pickens made some racially charged taunts at Woodson during the game. And in a little context here, Woodson was biracial. He had a black father and a white mother. And back when Woodson was growing up in Indiana, that was not a widely accepted thing by society. And Woodson like heard it from all sides. His family got threats from the KKK, but then the black kids also made fun of him for having a white mother. So it like he got it from all sides. And as an adult, Woodson then marries a white woman. So obviously the idea of being part of a mixed race family was a pretty sensitive topic for him. Well, during this 1993 game, Pickens taunts Woodson about this and he keeps shouting jungle fever at him, stuff like that.
Jeez.
And that really upsets Woodson. He's like, if you want to talk trash on the football field, then fine, if it's about football or whatever. But making fun of my parents is just so over the line. And Woodson's teammates all come out and say they're really upset too. I dug up some of the newspaper articles from this. There was a lot of comments and anger from a lot of his teammates that this had happened. And Pickens never really says anything in the immediate aftermath. But later that season, he goes back home and he hears it from both of his parents. He said that his parents were really upset with him for that. And Pickens says, quote, "That's when I realized I made a terrible mistake." And he said he planned to talk to Woodson about it to presumably apologize. Don't know if that ever happened or not, but
Wow. Mom and dad gave him a scolding, huh?
yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if that happened today? Boy, Carl Pickens would be like blacklisted from the
Oh, yeah.
NFL.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there would be suspensions. There would be
Fines.
it would be a whole mess. And like, Woodson's experience growing up. I mean, full disclosure, I'm part of a mixed race family now, and fortunately, my kids have grown up in an era where they haven't had to endure that kind of garbage, right? But he grew up in Indiana in the 70s, and that was in 80s. That was a different time of of that kind of stuff being accepted. So definitely understand the sensitivity there. All right, let's talk about a not so glorious time in Pitt football history. It's the second stint of Johnny Majors.
Woohoo! I lived it.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about this era.
This is a lived experience.
Yeah, we both sat through a lot of real bad games at Pitt Stadium during that time. So, Steve, Johnny Majors was the coach for 4 years during that time in the 90s. They played 28 games in the Big East. How many of those 28 games do you think that they won?
5, maybe 6.
That's close. 7.
Hey, I was close.
So they were 7.
You figure they beat Rutgers and Temple every year, so that's 2.
Yes,
Yeah.
that I was going to say. Yep, they could beat Rutgers and Temple, and that's the list.
Yeah.
So in 1996, Pitt is playing Boston College on Halloween night. And since Boston College isn't Temple or Rutgers, they're an 11-point favorite to wall of Pitt, just like all the other Big East teams did. And Boston College isn't super good that season, but they do have a star quarterback named Hasselbeck, who later goes on to get cheated by the refs in a Super Bowl against the Steelers.
He gets cheated by his own team this night.
So this should just be another one of your typical Pitt blowouts, right? Right?
Matt Hasselbeck, the junior out of Norfolk, Mass. Intercepted! Rashad Whitmill, his second of the night. Not only the pick, but much better field position. That was a big play.
So Pitt wins. It's a shocker. And after the game, Boston College head coach Dan Henning explodes in the locker room. And he says, "I know there are guys in here involved in gambling." And he demands that the players involved come clean. And a few days later, between 25 and 30 BC players come forward and admit to betting. And ultimately, 13 of them are suspended.
Wow.
Now, no one admits to betting against Boston College, and officials say that they believe, after their thorough investigation, that only 2 of them actually did bet against BC, and that those players had no impact whatsoever on the Pitt game or any of the other games.
Sure, they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, speculation persists, obviously, that it was much more rampant.
Was what's his name? Oh God, the guy from Goodfellas. Was he involved? No, he was
Henry
involved.
Hill.
Henry Hill. Remember him in Boston College in the basketball.
That was basketball. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had his Pittsburgh connection, so
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Maybe Henry Hill was involved in some way. But I actually remember watching that game, Steve. I remember watching that game in between trick-or-treaters coming to my door. And I also remember thinking, like, wow, this is like the best win that we've had in years. And then of course it was tainted because, Pitt. They beat Rutgers and Temple and one win against Boston College in those 7 Big East wins.
Wow.
So 6 plus 1 with an asterisk.
Wow. So this was Johnny Mage's final year. This was the 65-0 blowout year and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I think this was the year that was it Notre Dame or Ohio State that returned a punt for a touchdown
with 10 people. That was Ohio. That was Ohio State.
Okay.
Do you believe that was Joey Galloway or one of them?
Yeah. Pitt was bad. That's why, again, this was so shot. That's why Dan Henning was like, wait a second.
Something's not right here.
Something's not right. All right. Next, let's talk about a guy named Billy Tibbetts. Steve, do you remember Billy Tibbetts?
The name sounds familiar. I'm sure when you go into the story, I'll remember.
So he's a guy that the Penguins signed in 2000. And at the time, he is a convicted rapist. Like he had actually served a suspended prison sentence for rape. Then he served an actual sentence for assault and battery with a deadly weapon.
Oh, this guy sounds like a choir boy here.
He also had charges leveled against him for beating a police officer and intimidating a witness.
So I'm assuming he's going to be an enforcer on the team of some sort.
Yeah, he's definitely has some violence in his past. And when the Penguins sign him, he has to register as a sex offender in Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
And for a while he can't travel to Canada for road games. And people aren't real happy about this at the time. There's women's groups and journalists who come out and bash the Penguins. Sally Calson at the Post-Gazette writes multiple columns expressing outrage over this. It gets really ugly because Mark Madden, who was a columnist at Post-Gazette at the same time, kept writing rebuttal columns. Like the two of them were going at it, like inside the Post-Gazette. It doesn't help that the Pens make a couple of kind of tone-deaf statements about it. Craig Patrick kind of gloats about how they beat other teams to the punch to sign Tibbetts. Yeah, he even says like a few other teams called him like upset that he signed him first. And Mario Lemieux says it's a great story of someone who, quote, overcame adversity. So, and I think I know what Mario meant there, but man, it doesn't sound good.
Maybe he cleaned up his act after having some bad.
Well, that's what I think. I think that's what they were trying to say. But it just again, a little tone deaf making those kinds of statements. It also doesn't help that Tibbetts is a pretty dirty player during his first season in Pittsburgh. He has a bad habit of sucker punching people. And he also gets suspended multiple times for cheap shots.
What a shock. What a shock, Tim.
and I don't, so is this, we had this like 14, 15 years later with the Michael Vick controversy, where on one hand, okay, what this person did was horrible, but, we have laws, we have prison sentences. We've all agreed as a society that this is the punishment for said horrible acts. So do we have a right to be upset when that person tries to earn a living after they've served the punishment that we all agreed to?
Yeah, I said that about Michael Vick. This guy's charges were a lot more severe.
Fair.
But if he served the time and did everything he's supposed to and he hasn't reoffended, I don't know what else to say. I mean, what else do you want the guy to do? I mean, if you're not happy that the jail term wasn't long enough, then that sounds like something you should write your legislator about, not the Penguins.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, now to play devil's advocate, do we take that stance just because it's a professional athlete? They can help our team. Like if our kids preschool wanted to employ a convicted sex offender, would be like, hey,
I think that's different. A preschool or a school. I mean, but if the guy wants to go work at freaking McDonald's, I mean, what are you going to do? The guy's not allowed to make a living, or
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if he was driving a school bus, maybe people wouldn't be crazy about it, but
Yeah. I mean, there should probably be some boundaries around,
Yeah.
being alone with kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're right. So maybe the kids' preschool isn't a good example,
Yeah.
but maybe like the place you frequent often, like you said, like a restaurant or a,
Yeah, I mean, he has to do something to earn a living. I mean, I guess he can work, somewhere where there isn't a lot of kids. I don't know. I don't know. It's just like you said, like it doesn't. You put these people in limbo, and what are they supposed to do? Like, I guess it's a lesson to everybody else. It's a deterrent. Don't do that.
yeah, that's a tough one. And like Sally Kelson, those articles she wrote was really around like, what about the victim? Uh, what is she? He gets to make millions of dollars. What does she get? That kind of stuff. I don't know.
I I don't know what else she wants out of it. I mean, if he what do you want him to do?
Well, that's kind of what Mark Madden was saying. Like I said, the two of them, if you
It's
go
like
back,
okay, so what punishment would be good enough for you?
right.
What would I ask? I would
Right.
ask. Yeah.
Well, and I get like the this is going to come up again. I was just reading about this recently with Henry Ruggs. Remember Henry Ruggs, that receiver for the Raiders?
Yeah, is that the guy who ran somebody over?
Well,
Or
he crashed into a woman and it killed
yeah,
her and her dog. And he's going to be released from prison in a couple of years, and he's talking about wanting to resume his football career. If you're the family of that woman, I could see being a little outraged by that, right?
but I mean, once again, it's
Yeah.
manslaughter. He's going to go to jail for a couple years. I mean,
Yeah, but I guess I'm just saying I can see both sides of this.
the NFL too, like they have an image to serve, and some companies just can't hire people like that. It hurts their
Right.
business, but
Right.
maybe he is going to have to go take a more low profile something or other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So that's the story of Billy Tibbetts.
Whatever happened to him? Like, I wonder what is he working at McDonald's now? He's a kindergarten teacher in Saskatchewan. It's like, oh no.
I did look that up. I mean, he only played maybe 3 seasons for the Penguins. And I did look him up. He did have a little bit of legal trouble after this, but it was nothing to the extent of, you know, beating a police officer, intimidating a witness, rape, assault and battery. It wasn't that level of stuff. So not sure what happened to him, but
And I'm not defending Billy Tibbetts. He sounds like a generally not good person. I hope he changed his ways, but
and it's always hard to gauge those things. Like we did that episode about Gabe Rivera, and we talked about how they would always do like these, 5-year retrospectives or 10-year retrospectives.
Yeah.
And Gabe's he's earning a degree and he turned his life around. Meanwhile, he was like addicted to drugs and he wasn't working and he was, borderline suicidal. Like so you never really know, has the person turned their life around? And even when they do, sometimes there's still struggles, nobody's perfect. So who knows? Hard to gauge.
well, we went a lot deeper there than we normally do on the
We
podcast,
did. But hey, that's what you have to expect from such intellectuals as us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's another controversy that people will probably not remember, and it involved late night talk show host David Letterman. Steve, were you a Letterman guy?
I liked Letterman. I liked Leno too. I liked both of them. I was one of those odd people. I don't know. I liked Conan better, quite honestly. I don't know why.
Too.
As it went on, I liked Conan better, but I don't know. Letterman was fun with the top 10 lists. I have a couple of his top 10 list books. So I think as he got later and more jaded, he lost a little bit of his just fun,
Yeah, he definitely got crankier as he got older. His humor kind of got a little grating sometimes too. He would like beat things into the ground.
Yeah.
But I watched him for years back when I could, actually stay up late. And I did like Letterman, but I'm with you. Conan was always my favorite. To this day, I love Conan's podcast today.
He's very silly. He's more silly than Leno. Or Leno isn't bad. He's more vanilla and
yeah.
I don't know.
I never really watched Leno. I mean,
Letterman was more like spicy than
right.
If Leno's plain grilled chicken, Letterman's the spicy chicken. I don't know. I just remember he one time sent a guy in like a dog suit into a tax like place, and then like he sent like 5 of them in. He was like the bit was like, how many guys in dog suits will they allow into like a tax place?
Nice.
Or like he throws stuff off the roof of the building. Remember that? Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or they would do Does It Float? They would do that one too. Yeah. Well, anyway, what does any of this have to do with Pittsburgh sports? Well, in August of 1988, Steelers founder Art Rooney passes away at the age of 87. And that's a big deal here in Pittsburgh because, as we've talked about on the show numerous times, the chief is really a mythical figure here. So obviously, a lot of people are very sad about that. Well, on August 30th of that year, Letterman makes this joke concerning Rooney's death during his monologue. Quote, "It's terribly sad, and there's a little controversy with this because he died during the preseason, so does it count?"
Ugh.
And the audience all groans. No one laughs. And there's a bunch of angry calls that come into WPXI, which is our NBC affiliate here in Pittsburgh. People are not happy about that joke. Letterman does apologize on the next evening show. He says it was in poor judgment. My heartfelt apologies to the people of Pittsburgh.
So he was kind of making like a football preseason joke there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
because I remember people used to make like, now I haven't heard anybody make fun of the preseason the way they used to. Like, remember they used to call it mythical football and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People don't like those jokes anymore. I guess maybe they're out of style. We take our preseason seriously now, Tim. Got to find out which quarterback the Cleveland Browns are going to select.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess tying it to Art Rooney's death was not very popular at the time. So.
Oh, no, fair enough. That was in poor taste. I would say I call it in poor taste.
Yeah, poor taste. I mean, not egregiously horrible, but definitely in poor taste.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we're going to talk about Super Bowl 37, which was not a particularly good Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just completely boat race the Oakland Raiders. And Steve, do you remember who the MVP was of that game?
Yes, I do. It was one Dexter Jackson.
Ding, ding, ding. Very good. Good memory. Yep.
I know what you're going to, I don't even have the notes on this show, and I know what you're going to talk about. Because this was a big to-do.
It was. So yeah, as Steve said, Tampa Bay safety Dexter Jackson is the MVP. And that's great timing for him because guess what? He's a free agent after that game.
Time to cash in, much like who was the guy?
Larry Brown.
Yeah, Larry Brown.
Yeah, I try not to mention his name. Just get a little shiver every time I say it. So the Steelers are at that time, they're coming off of a 2002 season in which they were completely impotent against the pass. They gave up 30 plus points in both of their playoff games that year. And they've decided to part ways with longtime safety Lee Flowers, who I think, Steve, was much more of like a run stopping safety than he was a pass defending safety, right?
That was the problem with that defense. That they had Brent Alexander, him, like they had a bunch of like, they had that one guy, that Travis, what was this guy? The guy that has the longest.
Travis Davis.
Yeah. Yeah. They had him hanging around, Scott Shields.
So the Steelers are definitely in the market for safety. And who better than the guy that was just MVP of the Super Bowl? So the Steelers make him an offer. Jackson verbally accepts the offer. He's going to sign with the Steelers. They fly him to Pittsburgh to officially sign the contract. And while he's in Pittsburgh at the Steelers offices, the phone rings. It's the Arizona Cardinals. So Jackson actually ducks into a bathroom at the Steelers offices to take the call. And it turns out that the Cardinals want to offer him more money than the Steelers are offering him. And believe it or not, Steve, we have footage of what happens next. This is very rare footage obtained directly from the Steelers offices. This is what happens when Dexter Jackson.
They have cameras in the bathroom, Tim. That would be in violation of Supreme Court rulings.
Not in the bathroom. This is what happens when Dexter Jackson comes back from the bathroom from taking that phone call.
All right.
And the team's like, okay, just sign right here and you will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And here's what Jackson says.
Oh, fine. Let me just get something out of my car.
I don't think he's coming back.
You know, that sounded an awful lot like Leonard Nimoy.
Oh, he and Dexter Jackson have similar voices. And Kevin Colbert's a pimply-faced teenager, by the way.
Yeah.
You might not have known. Back then, he grew up a little bit over.
That's a great episode of The Simpsons too, because they all sing like "Good Morning Starshine" at the end of the episode, led by Leonard Nimoy. Get Shamu out of here! It's the feds.
Keys at the feds. Yeah. That was the X-Files themed episode. Yeah, with Mulder and Scully were on it.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jackson spurns the Steelers literally at the last minute and signs with the Cardinals. And the Steelers are really upset about this. They feel like he and his agent used them to leverage a better deal from the Cardinals. And the worst part is they still don't have anyone to play safety. So now they have to pivot. And a few weeks later, here's what they pivot to.
With the 16th selection in the 2003 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Troy Polamalu, safety from Southern California.
I don't know who this Polamalu guy, but he certainly looks like Polamalu. So, if he's half as good as that guy, we're in good shape.
Yep.
It's Polamalu. No, I mean it's the best thing to ever. Like, what did Dexter Jackson ever do after that Super Bowl? Like,
I can tell you.
Nothing.
He's a complete bust in Arizona, and they release him after one season.
I'm sorry, and I laughed and I laughed. Well, does this Polamalu guy turn out? How does he do? How does he turn out?
He does okay.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, do the Cardinals end up playing the Ravens in the Super Bowl if they don't steal Dexter Jackson away? Because then Polamalu's not there to make that interception in the championship game.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Right?
Yeah, I guess. Okay. So what, this is like It's a Wonderful Life thing? He wasn't there to save all those men on that transport? What are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Well, I'm just saying it's ironic.
So they would have been playing Joe Flacco instead of Ben Roethlisberger. Well, maybe Joe Flacco drives them down the field and wins.
Maybe. But the Cardinals being like conniving and scheming and stealing Jackson away directly leads to the Steelers getting Polamalu. So, and
why does this sound like the plot of Jerry Maguire? Doesn't it?
Maybe that's who called Dexter Jackson in the bathroom.
But the bottom line is we get Troy Polamalu and it works out way better. So I remember they were really pissed because that was kind of like a skeezy thing to do. Were the Cardinals allowed to call him that? Like, I guess it was still like an open negotiation. Like, yeah.
That's what I don't think it violated anything. He hadn't signed the contract yet, but I mean, he literally was at the offices to sign the contract. I dug up John Clayton from ESPN. There's an article out there still from him saying, Jackson 5-year deal with the Steelers, like it's done. And so this is really the last minute, like it was a done deal. And they do that today. Remember how like the first day of free agency, it's like, 2 minutes into free agency.
Well, because there's a legal tampering.
But technically,
because everybody was doing that before, they would talk to people. Right. Yeah, it just gets stupid.
But technically that could happen today where you have like the team announces that they've signed so-and-so. But if they haven't officially signed them yet, they technically could change their minds. And I wonder if you probably find other examples of something like this happening. But at the time, that really stunk because, we were going to get the Super Bowl MVP safety from Tampa, and instead we had nobody. But like you said, it kind of worked out okay.
Well, in the immediate, it's like kind of one of those things too, like because he was hurt. Polamalu was hurt that whole first season, his whole rookie season. He really doesn't play, so everybody's thinking, "Oh, he's a bust," and this and that.
Yeah.
Maybe not a bust. People were getting skeptical of like whether
Yeah.
he was even going to turn out to be a decent player. Never mind the player he ended up being.
Oh yeah, one of the probably top 5, top 10 Steelers.
Oh,
of
he'll
all time.
be. Oh, he'll be in the Steeler Hall of Honor if he isn't already.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Steve, remember when baseball had that big steroid scandal? And guys like Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were all accused of juicing.
Yeah.
Did you know that was not the first time that happened in baseball? Do you know when the first instance of accused doping happened?
Doping.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. 1893. I don't know.
You're close.
Really?
1889, and it was a Pirates Hall of Fame pitcher, Pud Galvin, who.
What was he drinking? Like, spinach drinks or something? And they're like, no, that's against the rules.
So at this point in his career, Pud Galvin's 32 years old. He is starting to slow down a bit because he's 32. And there's this doctor, and I kind of put doctor in air quotes.
Well, it is what did you say, 1889?
Yeah, named Charles Brown Sequard, and he comes up with this elixir, which is a concoction of testicular fluid from dogs and guinea pigs.
Oh my gosh, why? Oh, man. You gotta. Okay, Tim. Let's put this in context for 1889. All right, the the Food and Drug Administration wasn't around, and the was the Controlled Substances Act. I think that wasn't until the 70s, and even the one before that, where you had to put labels on stuff, wasn't until like I want to say 1914 or 17, somewhere in there. So they would have all these, they call them patent medicines. And so you didn't have to list the ingredients, and you got to remember cocaine was legal. So like you can find old advertisements of like cocaine bitters. It's good for your child's cough. People were Coca-Cola literally had cocaine in it. Yeah. So, it's crazy. And they didn't have to list their ingredients. And the biggest thing that happened was I forget when the act was fought. I think it was during the Woodrow Wilson administration, I want to say, or Roosevelt. And they had to list their ingredients, and like the main ingredient is like morphine. It's like, oh, okay. Oof. Well, yeah, maybe we don't want to be taking that. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Brown Sequard says that not only does this elixir of testicular fluid from dogs and guinea pigs makes you stronger.
Hey, how is he obtaining this?
I don't want to really know the answer to that.
Clerks, you ever watch Clerks?
Yeah. Could be that. So yeah, going to make you stronger, going to give you more energy. Also provides you with rejuvenated sexual prowess, according to the doctor.
I don't even want to know. They were doing some wild stuff in the late 19th century.
So Pud Galvin takes an injection of this elixir and then proceeds to pitch a 2-hit shutout over the Boston Bean Eaters.
Have you ever heard of the placebo effect, Tim?
Well, the Washington Post disagrees, Steve, because the next day they write this, quote, "If there still be doubting Thomases who concede no virtue to the elixir, they are respectfully referred to Galvin's record in yesterday's Boston-Pittsburgh game. It's the best proof yet furnished of the values of the discovery."
I'm getting the feeling this isn't FDA approved, peer reviewed, anything. This is kind of like, remember when the Eagles were drinking pickle juice? Like, right. Yeah. At least that's like harmless. It's just vinegar and dry. It's like. Yeah.
Well, this stuff was probably harmless too. It's later proven to be ineffective. Medical experts say, like you said, Steve, it was probably a placebo effect.
Yeah.
But there you go, Pud Galvin, baseball's first juicer.
Could you imagine trying to peer review this crap? It's like, what am I going to find a study on? The effectiveness of guinea pig sperm in humans. Like, who does this? And who's the people studying this? What government agency gave you a grant to do it?
And who are the test subjects?
Like Elon, if Elon would have found that, that would have been a scandal.
Oh, so there you go. Yeah, I also want to note I was a tiny bit unfair to the good doctor. He actually made some pretty significant discoveries in regards to the spinal cord that I guess are still taught in med school. But this elixir stuff was some, horse manure.
It goes to show that like people could have a mixed track record.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, so I mean, we're not all right about everything.
Right. Okay, for our next story, let's go to a 2008 game between the Steelers and the Browns. And Steelers safety Ryan Clark gets injured on a play. And while the medical staff attends to him, NBC goes to commercial break. And when they come back from the commercial break, something odd happens.
Tony Correnti has just called a taunting foul just before we came back from commercial.
It was against the Steelers, and they were in their defensive huddle when they called it.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 51. The penalty just after this to the goal, automatic out.
So that penalty is on James Farrier.
Wait, what? How do you get a taunting penalty when no one was playing football? Like when they come back from the break, you can see they're taking Ryan Clark off the field. He's okay, but there wasn't a play. It wasn't like we missed a play. So how do you get a taunting penalty? Well, what actually happens here? Yeah, Farrier flips off a Browns fan, and the refs throw a flag on him for doing that.
That's kind of out of character. Generally, Potsy was pretty, well controlled.
Yeah, he does come out and say, that was stupid. I should know better.
Maybe he was just mad that they were taunting a hurt player.
Well, that's what he says. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says the fan was celebrating the fact that Clark got hurt, and so he just got angry and gave him the finger, and he's fined $7,500 by the NFL and assessed that penalty. Which is important because, like as you heard there, they gave him a 1st and goal. But the Steelers win the game anyway because, Cleveland.
Cleveland. Well, I mean, good for Potsy. I bet knowing him, maybe he matched it and gave some extra money to a charity.
Yeah.
Probably. He was always a good guy. Underrated. I know we said this many times on this podcast. Well, the key parts to our defense of those years.
Yes.
Very underrated player.
Yes, for sure. All right. Let's our next story, we're going to talk about a woman named Marge Schott. Steve, do you remember her?
Wow. There's a lot to talk about with Marge. She did run a good baseball team, the Reds. She was a very good owner that way. And she did like her the players loved her, like for all her racial comments and such. And she would it was the best. She would sit there and smoke cigarettes. Like she didn't sit up in the owner's box. She would sit right in the first row. And there's literally shots of her just sitting there smoking, watching the game. It's like if you're I don't know. Well, your grandparents were different, but just some of the grandparents what they would have done. Just sit there and smoke a cigarette and watch
chain
the game.
smoke the entire game.
Yeah, and make crazy comments just because that's who they are. But they're endearing and they really are good people. They just like the doctor guy. They just had
mixed bag, like you said.
Yeah, but people are complicated. It's just like that Tibbetts guy. He's not all good or not all bad.
Right. Yeah. People. That's a really good point, Steve. Because I think in our culture today, especially
he's evil.
Figures, right. Exactly. So Marge Schott, very controversial, has a lot of racist kind of statements over the years.
But the players loved her. Even the African American players, they loved her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and she always put a winning, compared to whatever the ownership is in Cincinnati now, she always put a winning team on the field.
Yeah. They had some really good teams.
Yeah.
One of those really good teams is in 1990 when they're playing the Pirates in the National League Championship Series. And one of the other things about Marchot was she was notoriously cheap. She was when the Reds eventually won the World Series that year, she was upset because the Reds won that in 4 games, and they didn't get to have like Game 5 at home, so she refused to pay for like the celebration, whatever, because she's like, well, I had to lose money because it was a sweep. So she was very, very cheap. And
how can we lose a game? Oh my god!
So back in the NLCS when they're playing the Pirates, in that series, and I'm guessing this is probably still the case today, it's the home team's responsibility to accommodate the visiting team's families. So when the Reds come to Three River Stadium, the Pirates sit the Cincinnati players' families right behind home plate. Well, when the Pirates come to Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, Marchot made the Pirates players' families sit in the high-level cheap seats.
That is the most Marchot move ever.
Yeah, and the Pirates are really livid over this. Doug Bear, the pitcher for the Pirates, he says, "What am I supposed to do with my 8-year-old daughter? Just tell her to go up to the upper deck by herself." Gary Reedus says he shotsied us.
He played for her too, didn't he? He played for Cincinnati.
I think he did, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe he was used to it. Bob Walk says, "We're lucky our tickets aren't on the roof of the hotel."
Bob Walk.
And then Wally Backman says, quote, "Marchot is the cheapest human being on earth."
I love Wally Backman. He was good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that not again, one of those stories probably nobody would remember, but the Pirates are pretty upset that the Reds are not giving their families prime seats. And again, that was because all the seats you have to give up behind home plate are seats that you can't sell to fans for an exorbitant price. So,
well, you don't even have to put them on those. You could put them in a luxury, maybe even extra luxury.
Well, then you have to give up that revenue also. See, that's yeah. But the upper deck seats, those are the cheapest seats in the house. So if you're losing money on those,
oh goodness,
it's all about profit margin. Bob Nutting somewhere is like slow clapping this podcast. All right. We'll end with a fun story, and this is the one that I kind of teased earlier. This is just peak 1970s. So in 1975, there's a team playing the Civic Arena called the Pittsburgh Triangles.
Yes, they're one of the championship teams of Pittsburgh history.
Yes. Yep. They're part of a pro sports league called World Team Tennis. Steve talked about them on our Teams That Aren't Here Anymore episode. So on July 26th of that year, the Triangles get a huge win at home against the New York Sets, which was a big deal because the Sets had the best player in the league. It was Billie Jean King.
Yeah.
Yep. And Vitas Gerulaitis, who was a star player for the Triangles, he's excited not only because his team won, but also because it's his birthday. And he wants to celebrate those two things in style. So he gets on the PA system at the Civic Arena, and he invites 10,000 people back to his hotel for a late night party.
Wow. How many people showed up, I wonder?
They estimate several hundred people showed up. Fortunately, not 10,000. Mostly young ladies. Because Vitas is kind of like
European, and then
long hair.
Wow, good for him. Hey, yeah.
There is some physical damage to the hotel, but other than that, no other reported issues. So
there's lots of 1970s. Was it all from the platform shoes and disco balls and whatever else?
Probably.
But yeah.
But I just love that. Like he's like gets on the PA system. He's like, "Everybody back at my place. We're gonna celebrate in style."
Yeah.
Gerulaitis, by the way, does go on to have a pretty successful tennis career that gets cut short by a tragic accident that kills him in 1994. And there's a lot of debate actually over whether or not he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Recently, both Jimmy Connors and Bjorn Borg came out and said that if Gerulaitis was not inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, they would both consider rescinding their inductions.
Can you do that?
Apparently you can.
Tennis.
So,
who knew tennis? Who knew they were so passionate in tennis?
Yeah. So he ended up being a really good tennis player after his career with Pittsburgh. because he was only like 21 years old at the time.
Right, yeah.
But again, yeah, great story. And Steve, only in the 70s. All right, well, that's our list of stories. Thanks everybody so much for listening. Please subscribe to the show. Please check us out on Facebook. Lots of great content there, a chance for you to interact with other fans and with us. And we will catch you next time.